good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Being Your Own CEO Success Circle. And for some reason or other, you're seeing Fred. He's my Zoom seems to be profiling him this morning, and there I can profile me. So the purpose of this Success Circle is a support for solopreneurs. And this morning we're going to be discussing upgrading an old website. So perhaps we could begin by introducing ourselves. I'm getting a message from somebody here. So, Vivek, would you mind introducing yourself so I can look and see who this other message is from?
Namaste. My name is Vivekanand. I am proud to share my belief with Steve Jobs and Leonardo da Vinci, who said simplicity is the ultimate in sophistication. I aim to bring time tested wisdom and happiness together into your business and life by unifying, simplifying, and amplifying simple technology and tools. Wake Technology is my company. Together, let us wake up our potential. So that's my introduction. I am in United Kingdom, England. Um, it's around 5 o'clock here in the evening.
Mm-hmm.
It's been mixed weather today, sunny and cloudy, raining, and it's all mixed up. But yeah, it's still a summer's day, as
Mm,
it is
right on.
called. Yeah.
Wow, Nathan just dropped off. He must be having some difficulties. Um, well, I'm glad you're here, Vivek. And before we move on to Fred, I want to acknowledge that Javita is in the texting out on YouTube. So welcome, Javita. Happy you are here with us. So, Fred, would you like to introduce yourself?
Certainly. Thanks, Lowell Ann. I'm Fred Jones, the creator of Our Future Leaders. I assist young people to gain communication and leadership skills. I do it online. Used to do it face to face before COVID-19, and I'm working on some projects with people in Nepal. And we've been working on manuals for leadership groups that they're setting up in the school system there. So I'm quite excited about that.
Uh,
I'm located on Vancouver Island. I'm in Nanaimo at the moment, north about whatever it is, 100 and something kilometers, I guess, north of where Lowland is in Victoria. So,
oh, you're in Nanaimo.
yes,
I thought you were over on the mainland.
I was, but I moved back.
Oh, that's good.
That's what happens when you're a nomad. You move around.
Yeah, right. Nothing, no moss growing on you, eh?
Not at the moment.
Right on. So, you got back in just in time, Nathan, to introduce yourself.
Well, hopefully it'll work without my computer crashing on me again. I don't know why this happens so much, but anyway, I'm here. Did I hear the call of the nomad from a certain Fred?
The call
Did
of
I
a
hear
nomad.
that? Did I hear that? I could have sworn I did. There was some chimes and all that. In case you haven't figured it out by my background, guess who's another nomad? As of yesterday, I arrived back in the small seaside village of Bucerias,
Oh,
which is half an hour north of Puerto Vallarta, and to take up a long-term house sit here for a good friend of mine, him and his wife. I met this friend of mine 15 years ago when I came to his hotel, and I'd shown up way overpacked, 90-degree heat, and super drenched in sweat. And the first thing he said to me with a big smile was, "You made it." yesterday when he came out from the house, said the same thing to me. You made it.
Oh.
And then he took me into this unit where I'm at. So it's a really unusual situation for a house sit, because normally when you house sit, you take care of a property and you're living there. It's not the case here. They had a tenant where I'm sitting right now who moved out a month ago, and they said to me, well, we're going to install you downstairs as the tenant, and you're going to be taking care of the whole house. So we're leaving in about a week. So I'm taking care of this house, and I'll be here for at least 5 to 6 months, if not longer. It may turn into a year-round gig. I don't really know. But yeah, so
Interesting. Oh,
yeah,
right on.
so I'm house sitting for a good friend, and I know his different members of his family I've met over the years. We're all travelers, right? I mean, his wife is Mexican. He's from, I think he was, I forget where he was born. I think he was born in Germany, grew up in Israel, lived in Canada for a long time. Is going back there in a week, and they'll be there for who only knows how long. All the grandkids are up there, so there's all these major changes for them going on, and me too, because I'm back here again. And but
well, Nathan, I mean, this COVID-19 has created major changes for just about everybody.
It has, and my friend is really worried, and he's thinking of staying in Canada as long as he can. He's,
right.
I don't know, but there have been some interesting things happening, because the numbers here have not been real. I know for sure that there's been a lot of, well, I call it lying, but fudging with the numbers to do with what's going on down here. What was interesting, talking with my friend yesterday, is he informed me that he's on good terms with the governor of this state, and informed me that yes, I was correct about the numbers, but the reason why is because if you don't like really amp it up down here, you really can't scare Mexicans very well. They don't scare easy. So the numbers are way up, even though they actually aren't, at least according to my friend. I need to talk to him a bit more about that, but basically it's designed to scare the Mexicans, because they just don't scare easy. According to what my friend said, if they didn't ramp up the numbers, the attitude of the Mexicans is, well, who cares? And just go about their
and
lives.
They would ignore it, and then it would really spread.
Well, I mean, the bottom line is it's going to spread anyway, and that's the end of it. I mean, it's at a certain point you got to stop worrying about this and live your life, and whatever's going to happen is going to happen, and that's it.
Well, let's leave that topic, because I'm sure all of us are bored out of our minds about it.
Yes, I agree. So anyway, so moving on, my thing is working as a copywriter and affiliate marketer, and working on a major project to do with that right now.
Right on.
Actually, one thing I'm working on, which I think you would all appreciate, is my colleague in Australia asked me to build a course which is about everything you need to do to get online with an online business. So that's going to be membership site stuff, squeeze pages, autoresponders, all of that.
Oh, well,
setting up WordPress, locking it down,
maybe
all
we
of
could
that.
talk about that a little bit more during our after our recordings period, when we're talking about discoveries. So I see Alana just made it. I see her name, but I don't see her. Oh, there she is. Alana, you just made it in time to introduce yourself.
Okay, sorry. Hi, Alana here from Ireland. Sorry. Anyway, hi, Alana here from Ireland. My company is ALB Digital Marketing. I help people with their websites, and I write copy and SEO.
Right on. And so this topic may be of interest to you. It may not be. I don't know. So we had decided we would talk about upgrading an old website. So I guess where I thought of beginning this morning is asking the group here, is anyone considering or doing an upgrade right now? besides me, because I already told everybody that that's what I'm doing. So, Nathan, you're thinking of upgrading a website?
That would be an understatement. Yeah, it's not for me. It's not for me.
Yeah.
It's a result of a mobile service called GoMobi out of I believe it's out of Ireland actually, but they're shutting down
Oh.
everything. So
Oh.
I have to rebuild the entire website, and I'd been looking for all sorts of solutions. I looked at due to mobile, which sucks, and several other things.
Mm-hmm.
And after putting out some queries, they came up with the answer, which is get yourself a copy of Elementor. So I've installed the plugin on this guy's site,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm building a brand new mobile site using the Elementor
Oh,
plugin. So
right on.
does this fit? I sure
Yes,
hope
it does.
So it's all about
So
Yeah.
now let's see if anybody else is considering or doing one right now. Anybody else? Alana?
Alana. Cool.
Yeah, so I'm actually converting my site from Divi to Generate Press. So yeah, that's been going on for a while, and I haven't really been using Gutenberg. I've been using Classic Editor, so
Mm-hmm.
so I understand that's going to be some additional headaches for me. But yeah, that's where I'm at right now. I'm not even. I would say I might be 20% through the site right now, maybe 25% through it.
Aha.
Good
Right
luck
on.
for
Converting
everybody.
posts and pages and all that.
Yeah.
Getting rid of all the Divi modules and all that stuff. So yeah,
Boy,
Oh, it's a lot of work, isn't it? Yeah.
it is a lot of work.
Yeah, even with what I'm doing, which is not that big, I mean, I have to recreate the look and feel of this mobile
Yep.
site using Elementor, but it's going to be, of course, full screen,
Yeah.
and I can't do anything about that. But
Yeah.
when it goes to the mobile, hopefully it'll give my client the look and feel that he wants from
Yeah.
the other thing.
Yeah.
It's been a real headache. Mostly because there's been so much crap out there that doesn't work. The other
I
thing
know.
is, if you're like trying to build a mobile only site, forget it. It's damn near impossible. You can't do it anymore.
But you get, but with Elementor, you, that part of it is a piece of cake.
I sincerely hope so. I mean,
Yeah.
I got to sit here today and really work on it and
Yeah.
see if I can give the customer the look and feel of what he had
Yeah.
before.
Right.
And if I can, he'll be a happy camper. So.
Yeah. Right on.
Yeah.
So now, Vivek, what about you? Are you considering, or have you started? I thought I heard you say a long time ago that you were.
Yeah, I have been saying it, but not doing much.
Shame, shame, shame. 15 demerit points for you.
Right. Okay, so you're considering it. What about you, Fred? I know you've talked about building a new website, but are you considering at all rebuilding an old website?
I have 3 websites that I
Oh, you have 3.
trying to work on.
I knew you had 2. I didn't know about a third one.
Yeah, and the one is really aimed at online courses and online, not so much courses, but online sessions for youth.
Mm-hmm.
And that, because of COVID-19, has changed a lot of the angle that I can take, because a lot more youth are online now
Yes.
than ever before. So I've got to upgrade that to a certain extent. And then the challenge always is you set up the website, and then you remember, how did I do this? Because it was a year or 2 ago. And what do I do? And it's so time consuming to go back and try and work out, how can I change this and change that?
Yeah.
Which is one of the
It's
reasons
unbelievable.
why
And then-
you
and
write
then the-
checklists.
Yeah.
And then the third website is Notes of a Nomad. I started setting that one up, and I'm not finished yet, but I've been
Right.
working on it actually this week, so
Yeah.
I might get there. I've had some time because I've been busy with the people in Nepal with the
Right.
manuals. That's taking a lot of my time, but it seems that's slowing down. So yep, this is a good topic for me. I'm very
Uh-huh.
interested
Yeah.
in it.
So Nathan, when you say create a checklist, I'm thinking like I wouldn't have used checklist as the word for what I've done, but I have a Google folder, a Google Drive folder for each website that I'm concerned with. And I have all the details of everything, the colors that were used, the codes, the sizes of images, the sizes of this, etc. Is that
Yeah.
what you mean when you're talking about a
Yes.
checklist?
Yes and no. It would be a lot more than that. I mean, I don't know if I mentioned this before. I think I have, but I've worked as a tutorial writer for a very long time. I've been doing this for over 20 years. And to make sure that I don't forget, which is the issue that Fred spoke about, going back to something, I write out detailed descriptions of what I do, what I've done, when I've done it, why I've done it, with all the settings and everything else. So this course that I'm creating is literally all of that. So everything you want to do, everything you want to cover about literally setting up an online business. And I'm going all the way from buying a domain name, getting hosting, and installing WordPress, the automatic install, setting it up, why you should never use admin, that kind of thing, and then locking it down using some really intense security stuff. And I just finished that a couple of days ago. That's chapters 1 to 6. And then after that is like getting a Google Analytics, connecting it, all this stuff that you would want to do.
So what you're saying
detailed,
is the why, the how, and the what. You're covering all of it.
Everything. And I'm doing video tutorials as well.
Okay.
So like when I was doing this thing of like securing your WordPress site, like using WordFence and iTheme security and 2FA security and all that kind of stuff, it's not just print. I'm doing videos and I'm showing you where you go within these various programs to set it up and lock it down. So that's just one thing, but there's going to be landing pages and squeeze pages and autoresponders and all of that. I'm going, oh man, it's a real headache, but on the other hand, it's stuff that will help a lot of people. No question. And I think I've got at least a couple more weeks worth of work to do with that. Right on. To get it done.
So I see Jay just joined us this morning. Good morning,
Sweet.
Jay. Are you considering or are you in the middle of revamping an old website? That's what we're talking about. All of us are we're just identifying who is actually doing it, and it looks like all of us are. What about you?
I think the more common question would be, when are you not updating an old website?
Okay.
You know? It's like owning a Volkswagen Westphalia. You know, when are you not repairing it or working on it?
I mean, that's reminiscent of Ford, fixed or repaired daily.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but I think it's important to update a site on a regular basis, whether it be something visual or the functionality of a website.
Okay. Yeah. So that was where we were starting. The next question that arose for me, I mean, there's the things to consider, and I've written a page of things that I've considered, but I thought a good place for us to really get into things is what reasons would make us want to consider doing this. I mean, there are there are some really good reasons, and some maybe that. Okay, Alana, go ahead.
Okay, so the reason I'm doing it is twofold. One, it takes me a really long time to build a page using Divi because of all the modules involved, and yes, it comes out really pretty, but it takes a ton of time. Secondly, speed. So one of the issues had been having with my site is the fact that it takes a long time to load. So speed and time are going to be my
Okay.
reasons.
Right.
Yeah.
Anybody else? What other reasons would you want to?
Like I said to you earlier, is I have to for the client because the original service is going out of business. So there's no other choice.
Okay.
So doing a complete rebuild and hopefully being able to retain a similar look and feel. But there's no choice. I have to do it.
Okay. So no choice.
No choice. Technology has changed, as we all know.
So I can. I mean, there's a few that I can think of that sort of made me sort of look at it. Was certainly that the layout and the visuals and everything has on the site I'm thinking of, it's outdated. It's it's gone past what people the way people interact with the internet. So that could speak about whether it's responsive or not, but also just visually outdated. So that was one reason for me. I think that my business content, I guess, maybe that's what you meant, Jay, when you said the funnel. But the business content, the steps that you hope that the client will take, etc. I mean, it's changing.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what I was referring to.
Yeah. Okay.
What do you want people to do once they get to the end of whatever you've placed on a page or a post?
Yeah. Another good reason that I wrote down was that maybe the theme is not being regularly updated.
Yeah, that was actually an issue with this company too.
Yeah.
One of the things is that there were these certificates that they had to provide. I don't understand what that was about at all. But apparently they kept having ongoing problems with keeping these updated. And actually, when I went into the site the other day just to look at it and do something, said the certificate was 58 days out of date. And that apparently is one of the reasons why they shut down, but nobody knows. But I'm amazed that they would shut it down because it's a multi-million-dollar business, probably hundreds of millions. And I can't understand why they would shut down something so good and lucrative.
Yeah, interesting.
Don't get it at all, but that's life, right?
All right. So another thing that came up for me was that and it's sort of linked to the outdated piece, is the site is not getting traffic, and so looking at different ways to enhance and make it work. So there are a variety of reasons, and I think, Fred, you made reference to the change in the world around us has made it necessary for you to change the kind of business model that one site is going to have, and therefore you need to go in and rethink the whole funnel or the whole thing. Yeah so there are lots of reasons for doing it. Now, I guess if we thought about the process that we have to do, and I wrote down something like 9 things that I've done already. And so one of them was, and I don't know, Jay, you're probably the best person to ask about this. I mean, if you were not on Wealthy Affiliate and didn't have access to Site Rubiks, which is a sort of a practice site where you can do certain things without it being online, what would you do if you didn't have Site Rubiks?
That's a great question. So the process that we use to build a client's website, if they don't have one or even if they're updating one, is we'll usually buy the .info domain, which only ends up costing us $1.99, right? and we try to make it the same domain that it's going to reside on.
Right.
So like laolan.info.
Right. Uh-huh.
And so that way, when we build it, we have this kind of domain funnel, so that way and we'll build that on our hosting. And once it's done, because then, like, from a client perspective, we as the web developers still retain control, so that way, if they don't pay or break contract or something like that, then we're not, they don't take it and run, so to speak. But the really good thing here is that when you transfer it over to their domain name, their .com or .net or .ca or whatever, the process to change URLs is really easy, because you're literally just changing .info to .ca or .com or whatever, and then it's a super easy switch.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's what I've always done with web development clients.
Wow.
You're talking about the name servers, right?
Yeah, exactly. So either, because typically what we like to do is we like to host all of our clients' websites, for a number of reasons, but the main reason is for our clients to not worry about like hosting and getting access to their hosting and their logins and DNS servers and stuff like that. So that way we retain that control. We could just kind of take that .info that we built and stick it in a different slot in the web server where the other domain resides, and not needing to change the name servers and stuff like that. But yeah, that is one of the things that we do. It is part of the process. But yeah, that's always worked out really well for us in terms of the .info.
That's really useful, because I really didn't know how to do that, because I am on Wealthy Affiliate, so I have access to a site Rubix. So I created a site Rubix so that I could leave the old site undisturbed while I do all of this work. And what I did was I used all-in-one migration.
Yeah.
And that's a plugin that you use, that I put on both sites, the regular one and the site Rubix one. So it allows you to export and import.
I've used stuff like that too, Lowell. It's another way of dealing with this.
Yeah.
Because it allows you to build the brand new site, get everything working the way you want it to, and then transfer it to the other location, and then you're up and running, and no hiccups.
Yeah.
It's very useful.
So, so I have done that, and that part was easy. And of course, part of the reason that I wanted to do it was a change in theme. And so that meant that on the new site, I needed to upload the theme that I wanted to use, which is the same one that Alana's talking about, Generate Press, and also upload the premium plugin that goes along with it, and get rid of the old plugin, or the old theme that was not there. That was one of the things that I learned a long time ago, is like, if in WordPress your site can get bloated with a whole lot of themes. So basically what I do is I keep the one that I'm using and one other as a backup, and I get rid of the rest of them. So getting the theme all set up and making sure that I've got everything is updated there, and then of course looking at your plugins. You may have a whole bunch of plugins in there that you may, depending on the way you're going to go and what else you're going to use, there may be some plugins that you don't need anymore. Maybe a plugin that's been there for a while and you haven't used it, and you've forgotten why, the very reason that you had it there in the first place. And that goes back to Nathan's checklist and the why and the why and the what. So, so that.
And then you shut it off and your site blows up, right?
Yes, no kidding.
Actually, yeah, that's true. And yeah, like some of the stuff that's been going on for me is like, holy crap.
Yeah.
I'd forgotten, like, things have changed so much that, like, trying to do things the way I used to do, it's almost like I have to go back to school because things have changed so much. And I'm just looking around and going, yeah, but what about, oh, it's not there anymore. I can't do that. They're super annoying at times.
Yeah.
Yeah. This reminds me when I migrated from Joomla, which is a content management system, to WordPress. And that's actually why we had originally done the .info domains, because transferring a domain over from a Joomla site to a new Joomla site was actually relatively easy by just switching the domain in the back end. And then it changes all the URLs, including the images and everything like that. So it was super easy. So, but,
I see that Javita has posted something. She says, "This is for Jay. Question for Jay. Good to see you on Success Circle. One question. Premium members can have 25 websites. So if we transfer one of the sites, is it calculated in the 25 sites, or do we still have access to 25? I don't fully understand
I know what she's talking about. So if you have a site Rubik site,
yeah,
and then a domain site, like a domain site,
yeah,
does that count as 2 or 1? Well, it counts as 2 until you get rid of the site Rubik site, which then, because if you're migrating over from the site Rubiks to the domain,
you don't need
once that's transferred over, then if you don't need that site Rubik. So think of it as installations, right? So domain installations. So or site installation.
Yeah.
So, that's how that would work. So you just get rid of the site Rubik site, and then you still have, then you have 24.
Right. Okay. So, so then the other thing that seemed to be the first thing, and especially if you're using Generate Press, it has a customize, which is why it's such a lovely, a lovely theme, is that you can go in and set things up very easily in the customize section. So going in there and ensuring that you've got your headers and your logos and all of those things set up in the right way.
And it provides a real-time look at what you're doing as you change it.
Yes, it does, and it's just lovely. So, and for me, it was a question of going in and maybe choosing, updating and choosing colors, doing a bit of an update of the branding, so to speak. Then deciding what kind of a layout that you want and setting that up as a default rather than having that to wrestle with the rest of the time. You can set up a lot of things in that customize that become the default, so that it makes your design and posting and everything go so much faster, I think. So so for me, I ended up redesigning my homepage, and with some new visuals, and maybe pulling in some of the old visuals so that there is still an element of familiarity there, but that it's a balance of finding, updating, but also keeping the what was familiar to your regular visitors. So it seemed to be important to keep that balance. And so the other piece that I was going to say, that once you do the home page, it seemed to me to be important to do that home page and get some external feedback, which I did receive from Jay. And you know, before you start messing around with all the rest of the pages, to get a bit of external feedback on the the visuals. How does it work, and does that play out really well? And then once you've got your the branding and the look and feel of the homepage, then it should be pretty easy to move on and work up the rest. And as mentioned earlier, as I was doing all of this, it became obvious to me that I really did need to change the funnel. So, I mean, just as I was doing that, I realized, there's something in here that really needs to be modernized, updated, and streamlined, and so forth. So, but then I think once we've got, I mean, it strikes me that it's really important to get all the pages worked out. And once you've got the pages worked out, then to start working on the posts. And that's for me is going to be a big exercise, because there's over 200 posts in there. So I guess the question, there's a whole lot more questions that are going to arise for me as to what to do with a lot of those old posts. And a lot of them have numerous comments on them, etc. And I'm sort of, as I look at all the topics, they're all over the place. Because my site is more eclectic than a one keyword, one purpose website. So I've still got lots of questions to answer.
I think something to keep in mind with your posts is, when you visually design the post, all the posts will end up looking the same.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not going to be individual.
Right.
So, try to find a post that has the most amount of diversity in terms of typography. So like the heading tags and the paragraph tags, images, image layouts, comments, threads within the comments and stuff. Yeah. So something I've suggested in the past is, when you're designing a site or when you're redesigning a site, more specifically, if it's a new site, create the post hello world, which is the default post that gets installed when you create a new site. That's actually a very handy post to have when you're designing a new site, because it gives you a heading, gives you words. You can add an image in there, and you can also add, there's also 2 comments in there, I think.
Really?
So it shows you the general layout of how a blog post would look. That way you can, when you're designing the site, you can see what the blog post will end up looking like when we install a new site. So
it's a template, in other words.
Yeah, exactly. And another thing to keep in mind is that, as kind of what Javita was alluding to with the site Rubik site, for those who are hosting in WA, you can create a dummy site and which doesn't have any content. And then you can actually export that. If you're using some themes allow you to export like the customized look that you created, like Generate Press does that. And you can export that look and then import it into a new site, or an existing site after you upload the theme. And then you have that look that you've been working on. So, which is fantastic. A really nice little feature that Generate Press has.
One of the other ways that I've dealt with that issue is there's a plugin called Duplicate This Page, and I just have one post in there that I don't publish, but I just click the duplicate this page and I use that and then publish it. So I've got a template in there all the time. Yeah. So Javita is saying Generate Press is awesome. You have control on everything. But I still can't figure out how to lowercase author's name. It always shows up in capitals. Boy, I've never noticed that one. You're
That would be a CSS issue.
oh,
So, yeah. So I mean, an easy way to figure that out, or I shouldn't say that. One way to figure that out is to right click over the author name and click on the menu that comes up. Click on something that says Inspect Element, and then it will show you approximately where, like, the CSS code. Yeah, so that is one way of figuring that out.
yeah.
One thing I'd like to say, if that's just, before you hand the conch over to Fred here, the Fred final word, is that, and this is something I addressed in my webinar on Friday, and that's who are you designing the site for? Like, who are you building the site for?
Mm-hmm.
Primarily there's three audiences, three types of people. There's, number one is you, so you're building it for you. Number two is your readers, so your audience, your readers. And number three is search engines, so Google, basically, right? So you, your readers, and the search engines. and it's a good idea to take an objective look as to, in the order of importance, who are you building that site for? What's the most important? Is it you, or is it your audience, or is it Google, right? Which one's your number one priority? And I've always thought that it's your audience, because if you're building a website to earn revenue, it's your audience that's going to earn you that revenue, right? And then, yes, Google is also the one that's going to help drive traffic to the site. But if you're prioritizing with Google and not your audience, then you're not really Google doesn't pay you the bills, right? Your audience does.
Google has no emotions.
Exactly.
Google actually penalizes you for that.
To a certain extent, yeah. If you're spammy in that type of technique, exactly. But yeah, so in my opinion, I think it should be your audience, Google, and then you.
True. Yeah.
Right. So, and I think a lot of people get carried away with that.
I was really trying to figure out what, when you said that, I was trying to think about in what instance would I be posting or creating a website that is only for me? Like, I don't, it didn't ring right. I suppose if I'm posting everything there based on what it is I do, then I guess maybe it is in relation to me or you. But I don't know. I mean, to me, I couldn't see a reason to have a website if it wasn't for your reader.
What makes you happy, maybe?
Yeah, some people have websites just as a hobby. They just like to or store images or something like that. It's just a personal expression. It's like poetry. You're writing it for yourself. So there is a small audience that does that.
I suppose sort of as a, because blogging used to be sort of like a diary type thing. Yeah,
Dear Diary.
Yes,
yeah, exactly.
You're right. Okay, so we've covered a lot of things. Before we close down, were there any other things that come up for you as for anybody as to things that need to be considered as you're starting to do this upgrade? Anything come to mind for anybody that we haven't touched on?
I think focus on efficiency, and what I mean by that is, depending on the type of site that you have, if it's just a blog, if it's a local business, try to be as efficient try to be as efficient as possible, whether it be that the content, the layout, and the search engines now are prioritizing on mobile visuals now. So they have a thing called mobile first. And what that basically means is they're trying to deliver the mobile experience more so than the desktop experience, because that is the majority of their search audience now. So whenever building a website, don't forget to look at it in a mobile environment. And a really easy way to do that is through something called Inspect Elements, which I was alluding to earlier. There's a little, if you right click over, if you're in Chrome, there's a little if you right click over and go Inspect Element, there's this little snippet of code that comes at the bottom. And just on the left-hand side, there's a little icon that looks like a phone. If you click on that, then it gives you a mobile view of what the site looks like.
Right on.
It's useful.
So the other thing
versus, that's where I'm starting from with this. I have to, because I'm attempting to replicate a mobile look and feel, and that's what the client wants. So everything else about what it looks like, whether it's desktop nice or whatever, it's not a major consideration because the client already has that. But because the technology changed, it wasn't possible for me to find a mobile only site presence. Things have changed so much. It's like,
okay, so this morning we did not, Elementor was mentioned, but we didn't cover that because I thought that might be something we could easily cover in next week's session on creating a new site. Even though I might say that as I was creating my new home page, I decided to use Elementor because it allows you to do a lot of things. So now, Fred, would you like the last word before we stop recording?
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. There was a couple of thoughts that came to me while I was watching what we're doing and thinking about what we're doing. This is a topic for people who've already got websites and know a lot of the technology. And when you're talking about Elementor or some of these aspects of websites, for the average, perhaps, a solopreneur who hasn't set up a website, there would be a lot of challenges to what you've spoken about. So I think next week would be a great topic, because you're going to say, let's set up a new website, and hopefully we'll go through some of the very basic terms that were covered today.
Good point.
But I think the main aspect is what Jay said about audience. And that's one of the reasons I'm changing my one website, is the audience has changed. It was homeschooling only, but now it's not homeschooling only. So I have to change it because of the audience has changed. And I think that is the key. I go back to my communication skills, and I have this, and I think I've mentioned this previously when we were talking about communications, the MASH-D, which is an acronym that I developed over the years of communication. And MASH-D stands for message and audience. So what is the message and what is the audience? Without that, you're wasting your time, no matter what. Who is your audience and what is the message? Those are very key. S is stories and H is humor and D is distractions. Well, distractions also, you can have a lot of distractions in your website if you're not careful. And there's things that happen and you take them down a rabbit hole and they never get the message and you lose your audience. So I think really the key is, who's the audience and what's the message you're trying to do, and are you able to do it? So
I think your distractions is really important, because we know now that the simpler the site, the fewer distractions. So that is going to impact the design. So for sure.
So it's all communications. It really gets back to basic communications is what we're talking about. That's what resonated with me when we were discussing this. We want to communicate with an audience, and who's the audience and what is the message? Okay.
Right on. Well, thank you for that. It's always good to have that reminder, and so I really appreciate that. So, I think it's time for us to stop recording and to remind everyone it's important to do what you love with passion, and to also invite people to tune in next week, where we will focus on all the things we need to consider when we're starting a brand new website. So, with that said, hope we'll see you again next week. So, bye for now. And I need to do an Alt